group, and he was doing a Bible study. He was leading a Bible study. And when I had to approach him because I told him, I see leadership in you. I see a leader in you. And we sat down, and I obviously did the presentation, and he saw the opportunity. He saw the business. But he's going to share a little bit from then on what happened with his life and how his life has changed and how he's making this business work for him and his generation, because it's obviously different from Clementina's, different than mine, different. We all have a different world that we, the environment that we move around. So without further ado, let me introduce this amazing and brand new diamond.
Before we get started, I have a little exercise I want you guys to do. If you could all just close your eyes, very quickly, just close your eyes, and just imagine yourself sitting in a beach, right, as a child, as a young kid. I don't know if you guys had a beach or if you guys were maybe even at a park, but just close your eyes and just imagine yourself playing with toys, creating a sand castle. Just tap into that. All right, you guys there?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Open your eyes. Okay, what we're going to be talking about is tapping back into that. That is the most important thing. That is what made Walt Disney, Walt Disney. That is what makes Romero Britto, Romero Britto. It is in that innocence, in that creativity. And I believe that we grow up too quickly, that our toys are taken away from us. Like when it's time to grow up, our toys are taken away. But at that time that the toys are taken away, our creativity is taken away. So we're going to leave it at that note. I just want to give you a little breakdown of my story, and I've been in For Life since May 2013, but I didn't do it correctly until May 2017. And it's funny because you could go so much time thinking, like treating something as a hobby, but not paying too much attention to what you're doing. And a lot of times people take on network marketing and they're like, exactly like they say, oh, put 2 hours into your business here. But before you know it, your 2 hours are like reading a little article here and opening up the summit there. But the real thing about when somebody gives you a tax ID, when they're telling you you're a sole proprietor, you have to take it just as seriously as if you are opening up your own business. And what does that mean? It means branding yourself. One of the biggest problems with me and with For Life is I had Instagram, I had Facebook, I had everything, but absolutely nobody knew what I was doing. Everybody just saw what my social life was, but nobody was paying attention to what my business ideas were. And I was working at a place that I was just so caught up with just making a paycheck. And I worked in an emergency room as a financial representative. So I could work 16-hour shifts, I could work overtime, I could work time and a half. I could manipulate my paycheck, which I thought was a smart thing to do. But mind you, I was losing my peace. I was losing my sleep. I was messing with my health. I was changing my mindset. So one of the things is when you work in an emergency room setting and you have all your coworkers, you're all making fast money, you're blowing that money just as fast as well. Especially when you're getting paid more than a lot of people that are in there, you're like, oh, this check is going to come back, so let's just go out and let's go drink and let's party because we have this paycheck. So your perception of what money is changes when you're just stuck to exchanging time for money, you know what money you're going to get. Because like, let's say you're going to go buy a car. What do they ask you? Let me see your last check, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but when you're changing that perspective, and now money is no longer seen as a fruit, but it's now seen as a seed, a huge paradigm shift takes place. Because you're no longer just blowing money, because money needs to grow instead. It's not about, oh, this is here, let me eat it, and then just throw away the scraps. And that is what needed to take place in order for my business to grow. So in May 2017, I can tell you just like this. I was sitting in the ER. I was the financial rep, so I would have to collect co-payments for people who were sick. I would have to interview patients all the time, and I had to keep them happy with patient satisfaction, but I also had to collect their co-payment at the end of the day because my job was on the line. And there started coming a time where sitting in that desk, I started thinking, I'm stuck here, and I'm not growing. And yeah, I could be in school and all, but just right now at this moment, I feel like I can't do this anymore. But the crazy part is that what really took place was more in my mind than anything else. It just started, like a shift started taking place, like, is this gonna be the only way I make money? And mind you, I was a certified personal trainer. I've been certified for going on 4 years now. So I knew what it was to kind of control when you have control over your own time, you tell your clients, hey, I'm available at this time, but I can't train you at this time. When you show up to a job, it's like you're going to be here at this time, and you ain't going to ever show up again. So when you start realizing that, something comes over you about a creativity, a mindset, and it's like there's so much power. There's so much power in the human mind. And at that moment, when my shift started taking place, that I'm no longer just going to focus on this place, because guys, this place was it was a very, very big oppression. Like, I didn't talk about it much until I got out of it, but the other day I made a YouTube video comparing it to an abusive relationship. Because there was a lot of things that take place that I was only there out of fear. There was even a day that I showed up to a meeting at work. Mind you, I've been there 8 years. I showed up to a meeting and my sleeves were rolled because my dryer was messed up, and they didn't let me sit through the meeting. And they kicked me out, and they told me I had to drive at 5 o'clock traffic to go find a shirt because I told them my dryer wasn't ready. They go buy a shirt and find a shirt. And I came into work so heated. I punched the elevator wall. I was just like I was so frustrated. I sat down in a chair and I said, like, are you guys gonna reimburse me? Like, did you guys not realize I just had to clock out? I just lost everything. And they're like, no, sorry, like, you should have had your shirt. And at that moment, I just sucked it up and I sat and I went to work. And that is very demeaning. I don't know where you guys work, but sometimes we put up with a lot of crap because we need that check, you know? But I spoke to someone recently, he's a very wise person in business, and he says, okay, so people are constantly exchanging time for money, but what if they get sick? What happens then? And I have coworkers. I have a coworker who had MS, right? She ran out of PTO, but she still needed to be in the hospital. And I would see it. She's like, I'm broke, but I have to come into work and I have to do this. And that's what it is, guys. If you don't try to find another way, if you don't change your mindset, you become a slave. You become a part of an abusive relationship that you feel like you can't leave out of fear. So one thing I said in the YouTube video is, in an abusive relationship, the only reason the person doesn't leave is because they feel like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to them in their mind. So that's what happens in the workplace. I'm not saying everybody here go quit your job tomorrow. What I am saying is, if right now, today, you had a horrible day at work, and this is more than just a coincidence. This is a call to action. This is the time for you to realize, am I going to keep showing up, like Francis said, another 20 years to wait for a retirement check, which is going to be another 20% taken out of your retirement check, because I just cashed in my retirement check when I left my job. So I did leave my job, luckily, because a shift took place. It literally, and I left in a leap of faith. I can't say I was guaranteed anything at the end, but it literally came to a point where I fell into depression because they were going to fire me. And I had just moved to South Beach. I had just gotten a new place. Everything was situated, and they started telling me, like, oh, you had an issue with lates. Mind you, I was taking 5 classes. I was a pre-med student. I was living an hour and a half away from work. I was there for 8 years, so I wasn't some 6-month employee. And they were still saying, well, I'm sorry. And I go, I've been here 8 years. Can you guys be understanding? They're like, oh, we've terminated people after 20 years. And it just dawned on me. And it's funny enough because I was listening. I listen to a lot of motivation now more than ever. But I listened to a video from Steve Jobs, and he says, if you have to keep showing up to a place and ask yourself, why am I here? Then really ask yourself, why are you there? And at that moment, mind you, it still didn't hit. I mean, because you're just so scared, and you're like, this is my only check, this is all I gotta keep going, I gotta keep showing up, no matter how many lashes they're throwing at you, telling you that you need to perform more, that your job is on the line, that we're gonna fire you, or we're just gonna make your life miserable while you're here, we're gonna micromanage you. No matter what it was, I just kept coming because I needed that check. And it wasn't until I called Karen the day that I was on the way. I was already, I was up to here, and I said, Karen, I need to quit. And she's like, whoa, but everything, my For-Life business, everything was not fully established. I was a certified personal trainer, but I didn't have enough clientele to pay off bills. But I was like, Karen, I just can't. I can't do this. I don't know if you understand this, but right now I'm in an hour, almost 2 hours of traffic, and I'm going to show up to this place and have a test later, and I'm miserable there. I'm literally miserable there, because the thing about when you're working somewhere, but you know that there's better, it's kind of like, my family's from Cuba. It's like if someone from Cuba comes to America and then has to go back to Cuba. That's what it felt like working with For-Life, being a personal trainer, managing my own schedule, and then going into a linear income and having people tell me what to do, telling me what time I had to be there, how I had to be dressed, that my sleeves can't be rolled. All these things that it's like, when you know what freedom is, you don't settle for anything less than freedom. And that's what took place, a freedom mindset. And as that was taking place, I started targeting Instagram. While I was at work, I was on Instagram. I was using it. I was like, well, I'm stuck in this place, but let me use my Instagram. Guys, so many, either you guys or your children, your family, whoever, are using Instagram aimlessly, not paying attention. 40% of the Fortune 500 company are using Instagram. Going to show you that there's money involved. So why are we just on there aimlessly scrolling through our timeline when we could actually be putting out content that we could be generating money? I started learning this little by little, and I said, you know what, let me start showing. I'm not gonna lie, Karen one day was like, put this bracelet on and promote it on Instagram. And I was like, I can never do that. I'm not gonna be one of those network marketing companies on Instagram. But it was one of the greatest things I ever did. Because the second I showed people I worked for a business, people liked me. People trusted me. And that's the thing. If people follow you on Instagram or they're your friend, they like you. That's a business handshake. Like, hey, I want to know more about you. If not, I would not be following you. And when they like you, they like to see what you have to offer. So many of you have Facebook or whatnot, but you did it wrong because you pushed too much on them and you didn't let them get to know who you are. I'm not saying to have your name for life on Instagram. No. Don't do that. That's the number one, not gonna follow you. But if you say, hey, this is my lifestyle, and I consume these products, then there's a merge that takes place. You're a human being, not a company. So when you sign up for For Life, it's not that you have a tattoo of For Life on your face. It's that you're an independent distributor. It's that you want to do life differently, which is what we've been talking about. And what really has just been in my heart, and it's crazy because Karen told me something the day after that we officially talked about For Life, she goes, I see you speaking to young adults. And funny enough, my line is all young adults except for one person. But my passion on Instagram has been talking freedom. Because I'm trying to get them while they're like my age. I'm 27, but there's people even younger, and I'm trying to tell them, like, guys, if we don't pay attention, we're just going to fall right into the pattern that our parents fell into, and we see that our parents are miserable. We see that our parents weren't there to raise us. We see that our parents were stuck in traffic while we were out being ratchet at a very young age because they weren't there to be able to make sure what we were doing. They weren't there because they were busy at work, and then they'd come home and they'd be stressed and they'd just need to take a nap. And who would raise us? The television, our neighbors, anything. There was no family connection. You guys know that before we used to run to go get a paycheck, it was a family home business. That's what took place. The Industrial Revolution was about people going to find a check. But before that, everybody supplied for themselves within the household. Families were so much more unified. Children were not treated like children like they are today. Children were put to work. The only reason children are put as children was because when money was involved, we're not giving it to the children, and we're not giving it to the women, we're just going to give it to the men. But everybody had the opportunity to work, to use, because the thing about work, guys, this is what bothers me, and this is why I'll never work for another corporation again. I work for For Life as an independent sole proprietor, but I would never show my resume to a place, is because that doesn't determine who I am. That just determines what I've done. But that does not determine where I'm going. And that doesn't determine where any of you guys are going. It doesn't matter what degree you have, how much you've studied, because you could just stop right there. But the ability to continue to believe in yourself, that is where you go. Because guys, these people, the guy who created the pool noodle, you know what people probably told him he was foolish? But he's like a millionaire billionaire, because every time somebody goes to South Beach, they go to Walgreens to get their pool noodle and go into the beach. So, For Life is a vehicle to transform the mind. Like, it's funny because a lot of products, they transform the body. They have definitely transformed my body, but it has transformed my mind. And that's why sometimes I've had people like, oh, forget For Life, it's not For Life, it's you. I'm like, no, For Life taught me something, and it's something that freedom is reality. I mean, hearing her story about, like, she saw the Social Security check and she saw the option, and she's like, I'm not gonna, this doesn't suffice. And guys, we put a price tag on ourselves when we put a salary and a paycheck. When we say that this is enough, then we're saying this is what we're worth. But when we take on a project like this, we say we're worth more, and we know that there's so much better out there. So, guys, I really want you to just sit right now, and remember that child that I said? I need you to tap back into that, because your For Life business is going to skyrocket, because that's what I've been tapping into, that innocent child creativity. And because of that, I'm now a diamond, and I'm just going to keep going up from there. Yeah!
Okay, another thing that Brandon has done, and I love it because it shows his heart. He's created a WhatsApp group. It's called the For Life Transform. Many of you guys here, Adriana, Carlos, you're part of that team. And what this WhatsApp group is, it has people from Paris, from France, from Germany, from
Indonesia, London, Mexico, Dominican Republic.
Actually, ¿cómo es tu nombre? She's here because her upline is in Dominican Republic. Her